Well, I read, when I was a grad student, John Henry Newman, who's going to be canonized tomorrow.
John Henry Newman's a towering figure in English Catholicism.
Right, but he started out as an Anglican. An Episcopalian in the United States is a form of Anglicanism. And it was through Newman that I really was impressed by what I would call the objectivity of grace, that God acts upon our lives through the instrumentalities of the church, the sacraments, baptism, Eucharist, and so forth. And that just led me on a journey that eventually I wound up in the Catholic Church in 2004.
Now, Newman himself was not so much a theologian of writing systematic theology. He was more of a theologian of action.
Well, yes, my image is that he was like a taxi cab. He only came when he was called. And so he tended to write...
To problems, usually.
He tended to write to solve problems. Some of them were his own. In his own migration into the Catholic Church, he wrote a very famous book on the development of doctrine. And that book was clearly meant to address his own anxieties of conscience about whether he could really believe that the teachings of the Catholic Church organically grew out of the original gospel message of the first century.
Now, you mentioned that Newman would write not so much theological tomes, but theology addressed pressing problems, almost pastoral problems.
Right.
And could we say that's sort of what your book does?
Well, I try. I think one of my friends told me that I was never really a scholar, and I take that to be something of a compliment. But yes, Return of the Strong Gods is an attempt to explain the spiritual horizon, is what I would describe it, the spiritual horizon of the age of Trump, if I want to put it in the sharpest terms.
Well, who are these strong gods?
Well, a strong God is anything that arouses in us love and loyalty.
Like here, I think it says patriotism.
Yes, patriotismo. Patriotism is an obvious strong God, but the marital bond is a strong God. Mm-hmm. Obviously, our religious commitments are a strong God. And so for truth is a strong God. If you think about it, truth is a strong word, whereas meaning is it's a more open-ended word.
Very soft.
It's a softer word. It's a weaker word. And the thesis of the book is that because of the catastrophes of World War II, atomic bombs, Auschwitz, the horrors that were done, a consensus emerged that we need to weaken people's loves so that they're not so ardent and they're not so destructive.
In fact, you say that America is living out the destiny of weakening. You know, I shouldn't let this moment pass. Is that, do you have a John Henry Newman book that you would recommend people to read if they are trying to explore faith and
one of the Newman, he gave sermons at Oxford University back in his Anglican days, and they're beautiful sermons on the question of faith and reason. And a lot of my friends, we all at various point in our lives often have a certain concern about science and religion and faith and reason, and those sermons, which are luminous, I would strongly recommend to our listeners and viewers to take a look at those sermons.
Now, as you
mentioned,
they're
called the university sermons, or Newman's university sermons.